Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our Principles of Biomedical Science Update webinar. We're excited to share with you an overview and resources regarding the 2020-21 Principles of Biomedical Science release. My name is Autumn Berry, Director of School Engagement, and I will be one of your chat moderators for this webinar. Before we begin, I'd like to go over a few tips on how to maximize your webinar experience. Join the conversation by engaging with fellow participants and PLTW subject matter experts in the chat. If you have questions, please submit them through the chat. Our facilitators and subject matter experts will be monitoring the chat for your questions and will answer as soon as they are able. They will also be available to answer questions at the end of our webinar during our live Q&A. If time doesn't allow for us to answer all questions in the live environment, please know that after the webinar, we will give you access to an FAQ document with answers to all the questions that we receive in the chat. We know this year is unlike any other and that you as educators are trying to balance many different priorities. Over the last 2 years, PLTW has been working on the new Principles of Biomedical Science curriculum to provide the best, most relevant experiences for our students, and we want you to feel prepared to facilitate this new course this year, despite everything else that's happening. Today, we will review some of the larger changes in the course, hear from our partners to talk through some of the new equipment and supplies, and then highlight the existing resources that are available to make your life easier, including update training, distance learning resources, and embedded resources that have been created to help you as you navigate new software, equipment, and supplies. Like I mentioned previously, feel free to ask your questions in the chat at any time, which we will be monitoring throughout the presentation. We will also end with our live Q&A. I'd like to now pass it to Shannon Esposito, our Instructional Development Specialist for High School Biomedical Sciences, to walk through the new PBS course experience.
Thank you, Autumn, and welcome everyone. When approaching a course revision, the team identified a few main goals for the student experience. First, we want students to recognize the connection between biomedical sciences and other disciplines such as computer science and engineering. We also want students to continue to be able to identify and utilize the technology, equipment, and techniques used by biomedical science professionals in the field. And lastly, we want students to gain an exposure to the diverse set of careers and related skills in the biomedical sciences field. With the help of an advisory board consisting of existing PBS teachers, post-secondary educators, and industry representatives in fields such as genetics, bioengineering, and public health, we set out to design a new, engaging course that exposed students to cutting-edge science and research. These individuals helped validate the knowledge and skills that would be included in the course, as well as provided guidance on real-world scenarios that could inform our course cases and mysteries. I'd like to take a moment to touch on a few of the benefits of the new course. First, students take on the role of real biomedical science professionals to bring topics to life and prepare them for success in college and career. Through multiple problems and scenarios, the updated course challenges students to dive into the roles of various biomedical science professionals, such as emergency responders and physicians in a care clinic. This allows students to develop proficiency in laboratory and clinical skills using real equipment, setting them up for success in college and career, and explore the vast range of careers in the biomedical sciences field. Within the update of the course, PLTW is focusing on modernizing content and designing it for digital delivery. Integrated technology is intentionally used to maximize student and teacher experience. Interactive 3D animations and images allow students to immerse themselves in the curriculum and experience content in a new and unique way. For example, unlike the old course where all medical history documents were static Word documents, students will now interact with patient data in a simulated electronic record system, allowing for the integration of videos, audio files, and diagnostic images. The course content highlights the integrated reality of PLTW's 3 pathways: biomedical science, engineering, and computer science. Students will understand the integrated nature of multiple disciplines in the world as they engage in real-world cases and scenarios. Unlike many other courses in high school, the problems within Principles of Biomedical Science will highlight how concepts in science, technology, math, and engineering have to be applied in tandem in order to understand and solve problems. You'll notice a few differences as you click through the updated course. First, we reduced the number of units to 4 to align with other PLTW courses and to facilitate teacher implementation and pacing. Each unit in the course is approximately the same length. After reviewing several rounds of network feedback and market research, we have learned that while the year-long Anna Garcia theme has been a beloved feature, its continuity makes continuous improvement difficult and can lead to student fatigue and disengagement. Anna Garcia is still featured in the first unit, but students will meet other patients and professionals as they progress through the rest of the course. Since its marketing release in 2008, Principles of Biomedical Science has had minimal revisions and was behind in its design for digital delivery. The new version of the course will include things like a virtual crime scene that students can explore for clues and 3D animations that students can manipulate to learn more about the human body and its system. Let's take a brief look at the 4 units of the course. In Unit 1, Medical Investigation, students shadow members of the Forensics Investigation Team and the medical examiner as they investigate a mysterious death. Once they have completed their training, they are tasked with solving a new case, applying all that they have learned. Through their investigation, they gain an introduction to anatomy, learn about DNA structure and function, and gain an introduction to experimental design. In Unit 2, Clinical Care, students work through a schedule of patients at the PLTW Total Care Clinic. Each patient they see highlights key clinical skills and allows students to explore how the human body works. In the problem, students will advise a patient who is new to the practice. They will evaluate all medical evidence, record vital signs, order and evaluate blood work, and synthesize data to make a diagnosis. In Unit 3, Outbreaks and Emergencies, students first work as a part of the PLTW Disease Defense Team to investigate a mysterious outbreak at a local hospital. Once they solve that case and learn about infectious agents, particularly bacteria, they move on to shadow members of an emergency response team. They will investigate assessment and stabilization of a patient, drug delivery and metabolism, techniques to stop bleeding, and crisis communication. In the problem, students are tasked with designing an app to aid in disease investigations or emergency response. In Unit 4, Innovation Inc., students begin an internship at PLTW Innovation Incorporated, an organization dedicated to research, innovation, and design. Students will tour the labs of Innovation Inc. to explore 3D modeling, device design, regenerative medicine, and how to locate and test organisms for bioactive compounds used in therapeutics. Students will apply all that they have learned in the unit and course to design their own medical innovation. Next, I want to introduce Nick Gentry from our business operations team.
Thanks, Shannon. Today, we want to share the opportunity to connect with some of our partners to hear more about our course updates. As many of you know, PLTW Partners are key to the success of our curriculum. Edvitech, Ward Science, Biodigital, and Vernier, key partners supporting PBS, and we're going to give each of them a few minutes to talk through some of the supplies and equipment and software you will see in the course. If you have any questions, go ahead and put those down into the chat and we'll do our best to get to them. And if we don't, I promise we will, and we'll circle back with you later with the FAQ document and the recording that will be shared with you after the webinar. First, I would like to introduce Brian L., Director of Research at Edvitech.
All right, hey, good evening, everyone. Hopefully everyone can hear me all right. As Nick mentioned, I'm Brian L. I'm the Director of Research for Edvitech. I'm really happy to be here tonight. So as I'm sure many of you know, Edvitech provides experiments and biotechnology equipment for all levels of biomedical sciences. I've been working with Project Lead the Way for about 6 years now, so I was really excited to get to work with them on the PBS refresh. For the new course, we've helped to develop 5 unique experiments. Blood evidence and DNA analysis or forensic science experiments. A family affair includes in the chromosomes, examine molecular aspects of human health, and Under the Sea is a fun simulation of high throughput screening. So I don't have time tonight to go through each of the experiments in detail, but we can do a quick overview. Blood evidence is this multi-part simulation of forensic blood analysis. So students will collect evidence from a crime scene, and they use the Kastle-Meyer test to check for the presence of blood. They then perform a simulated blood typing experiment, and then finally the students can perform blood spatter analysis to better understand the crime scene. DNA analysis is students will perform a simulation of DNA fingerprinting using gel electrophoresis. This kit also includes a warm-up pipetting by numbers activity to get the students familiar with using an adjustable volume pipette, since it's such an important skill. This was a huge hit at the PLTW summits this last fall. I think some of the teachers enjoyed it a little bit more than I was expecting. So we also have an optional, more advanced version of the pipetting by numbers activity that was brought about entirely due to this response from the instructors. A family affair experiment is a second gel electrophoresis experiment. This will feel very similar to the hypercholesteremia gel that you might have run in previous years. There have been some updates to match the new curriculum, but this will feel very, very similar and familiar. It uses some pre-aliquoted quick-strip DNA samples, and that helps to minimize teacher prep for you. Clues in the chromosomes is a karyotyping experiment. Students will drop pre-prepared cells onto microscope slides, and then they stain them with gym-sustain before analyzing them on a microscope, which is always a fun one for the students. And then the final new experiment that we're providing is Under the Sea. And this is a simulation of high-throughput screening to find a bioactive compound in sea sponges. So the students do two different assays. The first, they screen for any traces of activity, and then in the second, they quantify the exact amount of the compound found in their samples. These experiments are all available through the PLTW store, and all of them do have perishable components. So the kits include vouchers that you can redeem for your perishables. You want to make sure that those are requested at least a week before you plan to run your experiment. Storage for these is going to be a combination of refrigerator, freezer, and room temperature. So definitely make sure you check those out as you receive them, just to make sure they get in the right spots. And then the last thing I want to mention here is that we have created videos for both the teacher prep and student protocols for each of the new PBS experiments. These are a great resource as you're running through the experiments for the first time. And all of those are available through the Project Lead the Way website. Thank you.
Thanks, Brian. Appreciate that. Next, I would like to introduce Michelle Pagani. She's a category specialist at Ward Science, and she'll tell us a little bit more.
Hi, we at Ward Science are delighted to partner with Project Lead the Way curriculum developers to create hands-on materials for inspiring your students in real-life applications of biomedical science, including the following categories: forensics, microbiology, medical procedures, and simulated diagnoses of diseases. Everyone loves forensics and solving mysteries, and I know that the teachers at Summits have mentioned that. So we've supplied a variety of forensics kits, but I'll only focus on two of them here. One example is a hair matching kit using slides of different hair color and types, including dog hair for comparison. Another kit is a toxicology kit to simulate different drugs, which is a great conversation starter with your students on this subject. In the age of COVID-19, we know how important that microbial identification and contact tracing can be. So we fabricated a control the spread kit that simulates the spread of a microorganism using baker's yeast, and a microbial identification kit that includes 3 mixtures of bacteria that do not cause disease. The students will identify the organisms in the mixtures using gram stain, colony morphology, and comparing them to prepared slides and pure cultures. You will receive a coupon in your kit, same thing as the voucher that was talked about before, for the perishables, and you should redeem it by calling 2 weeks before you'll be using it. As Brian spoke before, you also have to refrigerate some things and keep some at room temperature. In the medical procedure section, your students will be able to take vital signs, practice phlebotomy on a venipuncture simulator, and problem solve to stop a bleeding arm. The vital signs are taking blood pressure, temperatures, and using a pulse oximeter, things that are very commonly used everywhere today. The venipuncture kit is a realistic arm that's hooked up to a gravity-fed blood supply, in which students will marvel at the ability to palpate the blood vessels in the model and draw blood, which is actually colored water, using both a half butterfly needle and a syringe. They'll feel so accomplished, and a light-skinned model comes in the kit, but you can purchase a dark-skinned model separately through Project Lead the Way store. Another innovative new product is the Control the Bleed on a model of a portion of an arm. Some of you got to see this at the summits. It has 3 types of bleeds that you can simulate: arterial, venous, and amputee, and is covered with fake skin. The blood pressure cuff that's used in taking the blood can be reused here to simulate the different pressures that come with each of those types of bleeds. It's realistic with blood spurting from the wounds, and it'll be a real challenge to your students. They will understand what it's like for first responders when they come on a scene. The final category, diagnosing disease, has some of the most engaging activities, which have both gross anatomical diagnoses and histological methods. We've created simulated heart pathologies for the students to explore by taking sheep hearts and adding common problems that occur in human hearts. Students will probably have family members that have experienced one or more of these problems. The classroom kit, it has 9 hearts. It includes normal hearts, hearts that have coronary artery injections, septal defects, valve deposits, and combinations of 2 of those. These hearts are pre-cut for easy dissection, and they're used with our Ward's Pure formulation, which is low in odor, so the students won't be put off by that normal dissection order that we've been used to. Students will also be able to diagnose simulated patient samples at a tissue level. The slide sets that we prepared are a combination or a comparison of normal tissue and then disease states. We have basal cell carcinoma versus normal epithelium. We have normal blood smears versus simulated leukemia. And we have normal brain versus traumatic brain injury slides. It gives your students a real life simulation of lab work. We hope your students are enticed by the problem-solving activities that our partnership has created. Training materials have been provided to Project Lead the Way by one of my coworkers, John, which will aid you with the activities. Thanks. I hope you enjoy it.
Thank you, Michelle. Appreciate that. And next, I would like to introduce Joe Sitzwall and Rachel Moak from Biodigital.
Hey there, everyone. Joe Sitzwall here from Biodigital. I'm an account manager here, and my colleague Rachel is from the customer success team. She'll be around to help answer questions with me at the end. And so a little bit about us. We're a 3D interactive software company. We've partnered with Project Lead the Way to integrate our 3D human body models you see in the PBS course. So you can see a GIF of the model here if you're not already familiar. And this is the first time Project Lead the Way has integrated 3D interactive content like this, which is of course a timely change given the shift to a lot of learning and working these days. And so by accessing our digital models that are, by the way, medically approved by our on-staff MD, students can now learn about anatomy and physiology in depth from the comfort of their home. And not only is this convenient, but studies have shown that efficacy is improved using 3D rather than 2D images or simply text because of the increased engagement. As you can see in the GIF here, it's visually stimulating, the heart's actually beating, and you can click into the model, rotate it, zoom in, zoom out, and students can basically explore their curiosity to delve deeper into the subject matter if they're curious. This helps students also better understand the spatial relationships that they wouldn't otherwise absorb in text or 2D images. And then lastly, it's really good to know that Biodigital is not just used for educational purposes in high school curriculum. Our software is also used at the college and professional level where doctors and nurses use our software to supplement cadavers and use our software for ongoing medical education. Also, other companies like electronic healthcare records use our software. So hopefully at the end of the course, not only are students better prepared to understand anatomy and physiology today, but they're also prepared to utilize technology that they'll see in the field if they go on to pursue careers in biomedical science. So thank you very much. Let me know at the end if you guys have any questions.
Thank you very much, Joe. Appreciate that. Finally, last but not least, I promise, I'd like to introduce John Melville with Vernier.
Hello, I'm John Melville from Vernier Software. I'm the director of the biology department and the biology staff scientist, but I'm also one of the resident human physiologists, and I've worked with Project Lead the Way for about 10 years, developing labs, sensor support, things like that. You're probably familiar with Logger Pro and then the sensors that you would use on that platform. One of the things that we've done now with PBS is we've changed and we've gone to using graphical analysis 4 instead of Logger Pro. And one of the great things about graphical analysis 4, this new software, is it works on all platforms. So it works on Mac, it works on PC, it works on iOS, works on Android, and it also is compatible with Chromebooks. And it's also free, so students can get access to it anywhere, use it at any time. They can get it free from our website. We also are making a change so that you're going to be using what we call GoDirect sensors. And GoDirect sensors are different than the other sensors that you used to use in that they can be used both over USB and they can be used wirelessly through Bluetooth. Now, a lot of people refer to GoDirect sensors as wireless, but once again, I want to reiterate that they can do both. They all will come with a little USB cord, and the simplest way to use them is to plug them in to any device that has a USB port. Then you just launch GA4 and they're ready to use. There's no interface that you have to worry about. You don't have to worry if the interface is going to work, doesn't work, needs to be updated. The sensors, you just plug and play and use them. For devices that do not have a USB port, like an iOS device or like an Android device, they have Bluetooth. And Bluetooth can be used on a Chromebook and other devices as well. But this once again means that the sensors themselves can be used on all platforms as well. So Mac, PC, Android, iOS, and Chromebook. A lot of people at the summits really liked using the GoDirect sensors because they're also much easier to use. So if you plug in the EKG sensor, it knows that you want to record EKGs and it sets itself up appropriately. We also have, some of these sensors have special channels. So you can turn on the EMG channel and then it's all set ready to go to record EMGs. So they're really simple and easy to use and can be used across all platforms. In this age of COVID, we've also worked really hard with Project Lead the Way to work on the remote learning options. So I worked with the folks there to develop screencasts, remote data, and videos of these labs being done so that you can utilize those as well. And there's lots of other really unique and interesting features that they have. And if you have any questions about the PBS launch or GoDirect sensors, feel free to ask me. And I believe that they will be going forward also into the HBS revision. Thank you.
Thank you, John. And also thank you to Brian, Michelle, Joe, and Rachel, all of you for your parts and speaking. Like I mentioned earlier, if anyone has questions, just put them down there in chat. We'll get to them as we can. And if not, we'll follow up, I promise. And now I'll turn it back over to Shannon to continue talking through some of the resources available to you for your implementation this year.
Thank you, Nick. Before we continue to some Q&A, we want to take a few minutes to talk about the resources available to you to help you this year. To do this, we want to show you where these items live. Different from years ago, our update training for the new PBS course lives within the teacher guide in My PLTW and will be available to you throughout the school year. We believe that not only is this more convenient, but it also allows you to have continual access to the training so that you can reference it as needed throughout the course implementation. From start to finish, we expect the update training to take around 12 hours. The update training can be found in the menu on the left-hand side of the teacher guide. It has been organized into a few different buckets. The welcome page provides an overview of the new course as well as some of the key benefits that I highlighted earlier. The course preparation updates page provides all the information you need to know about our new software and equipment, as well as links to some of our assessment resources. The teacher support page describes how we have reorganized the teacher resources for the new course to directly align to the student experience. Be sure to explore both the student curriculum and the comprehensive teacher guide. Finally, the curriculum preview section allows you to take a look at the content of the new PBS. The Changes at a Glance page provides an overview of what is the same and what is different. This section will also walk you unit by unit through the new student experience. We encourage you to use the update training resources to help guide you as you explore the activities, projects, and problems of the new PBS course. If you have not already done so, we invite you to click through these pages to learn more. I also want to highlight this new chapter here called Distance Learning. Support. As we all know, school has changed a lot this year, and not all learning is taking place within the classroom. Throughout both the student and teacher guides, we've embedded a full set of curricular enhancements that provide alternative options and guidance to help you implement the course in a way that works best for your community. In the student curriculum, you will notice that distance learning notifications have been added to each APB. Some activities can be completed at a distance with minimal modifications. Others require small modifications to the procedure indicated here by the blue diamond, or ask students to review additional videos, images, or resources. For certain APBs, you will notice that there are actually alternative activities indicated by the red diamond seen here. Students will navigate to and complete these alternatives if they are not in the classroom. For example, if students don't have access to Vernier probes, they would explore the alternate, which allows them to analyze data that has already been collected. Our vendor partners also so graciously helped us create videos, animations, screencasts, and still images to allow our students to continue experiencing these great activities in a distance learning environment. Back in the teacher guide, when you navigate to the chapter called Distance Learning Support, you will find overall facilitation guidance, as well as a facilitation at a glance page for every lesson of the course. These pages include detailed facilitation notes for every APB, as well as resources for distribution to students. As we did not want to ruin the experience for students completing the labs and activities in class, many pieces of data or evidence are provided on these pages for you to distribute. First is the Ana Garcia Interactive Crime Scene that can replace the one you set up in your classroom. Students can click the flags to see the evidence found in each location. Next, you can see the additional pictures of hair samples provided by wards for activity 113, shown here, and blood typing pictures provided by Edvotech for the students to analyze in 114. In the chat, we have shared a link to a quick 8-minute video that walks you through what these look like specifically within the new PBS course. We will also include this in the email we send out with this recording, or you can find it on the PLTW website. Along with our curriculum enhancements, we have a full suite of resources available to you within our distance learning site. If you head to pltw.org and click on the header, you can learn more about each of these. Okay. I think we lost our screen share of that. We not screen sharing that. Within the resources on the tab, within the resources tab on pltw.org, I do want to highlight the tools that have been created to support you, including research-based online learning guides, webinars focused on navigating distance learning, which can be found in the upcoming events tab, and quick how-to videos that help you navigate within My PLTW. We encourage you to look through the site and use the tools available to you. And now I'll hand it over to Angela for Q&A.
Thank you, Shannon. As part of the promotion of this webinar, we asked you what questions you had about the new updates, and we're going to start off the Q&A answering some of those questions. If you have additional questions, feel free to add those in the chat. And don't worry if your question doesn't get answered. As mentioned earlier, the team is creating an FAQ document that will be sent out after the webinar that will compile all questions that have been submitted. So our first question is, what new software is used in the new curriculum, and where can I find tutorials on how to use that software? And I'm going to ask Shannon to answer this one.
I'm sorry, I needed to unmute myself there. Could you repeat that for me? Because I was trying to find my mute.
Yeah, what new software is used in the new curriculum, and where can I find tutorials on how to use that software?
Okay. As John from Vernier mentioned, students will now be using Vernier's Graphical Analysis 4 to collect and analyze data. So in Unit 4, students will also use ArcGIS to map locations for sponge sample testing, as well as Tinkercad, a user-friendly 3D design app to design medical devices, Additional information about the software can be found in the update training on the course preparation updates page. Videos for using graphical analysis 4 are included in the teacher guide for the particular activities where students use Vernier. Tutorials for Tinkercad and ArcGIS are included in the student activities.
Thank you, Shannon. Our second question is, how long does the update training take to complete? Jason, did you want to answer question 2 for us?
You bet. So we've scoped it out that from start to finish, we expect the update training to take around 12 hours.
Perfect, thank you. The next question we have is, will there be new end of course assessment ready for this school year? Shannon, I'll throw it back to you again. Can you answer that one?
Yeah, sure. Yes. Please make sure that you're looking out for more information about the end of course assessments. That information will be coming out in the next few weeks.
Awesome. Thank you. Our next question is going to be with some of our partners. Question number 4 is, are the wired and new GoDirect sensors interchangeable? And can we use either one and get the same results? I know we've had a few questions about the sensors in the chat too. John, if you're there, I would love to have you kind of speak to that a little bit if you can.
Yeah, sure. So all of your old sensors are compatible with GA4. The only one that is not compatible is the respiration belt. And the reason why it's not compatible is because the respiration belt itself is not really a sensor. It wraps around and then you plug it into a gas pressure sensor, and then the software has to know that the gas pressure sensor is a respiration monitor belt, and there's no way to get that updated and fixed. So that's why we have the new respiration belt. And to be honest, the new respiration belt just works so much better. And it also is a pedometer. It can do lots of other cool things. So, but yeah, that's really the only one that is not supported. The older sensors will work in GA4, including the blood pressure sensor and spirometer, older EKG sensors, etc.
Thanks, John. Our next question is, given the unknowns of 2020, what is the shelf life of the PVS EdvaTech kits for them to still be used with successful results when stored per the directions on the packaging? And Brian with EdvaTech, would you mind answering that question?
Yeah, of course. So we're guaranteeing all the kits for a year. I'm assuming that most everything is going to be stable going into next school year, so fall of 2021. The big unknown here is that a lot of these things are entirely new to us. So some of the components carry over from other experiments, other kits. Some of this stuff is new. So we started working on it over a year ago, which means that my stability testing goes out a little more than a year and everything looks good out till then. So what I would say is, if you don't end up getting a chance to use stuff, hang on to it, and we will work with Project Lead the Way just to get that stability info out to the teachers as we get it in. But for right now, I would say that you have a minimum of a year and likely a little bit longer.
Awesome, thank you. And we have a few more questions coming in as well. I have one here. Is there going to be an online training for the new curriculum similar to our main training, where we have a master teacher to go through each lesson and hit those main points and identify how to set up labs? Shannon, I don't know if you could speak to that at all. You mentioned a little bit earlier.
Yep, again, I'm just going to point out using that update training is probably going to be the best thing you can do. There's lots of videos and information and everything within the curriculum that will definitely help guide all those labs and setups. Again, the partners have done a great job with their help in putting in their videos and guides. So definitely continue using the update training and the partner videos to help guide you through that.
Thank you. And I know we got cut off a little bit on the update training earlier. So if we didn't get to your question, we will follow up in the FAQ document with all the questions that have been asked this evening. But I'm going to throw it back to Andrea to walk everyone through the distance learning resources.
Thank you, Angela. Sorry, everyone. We had a little technical difficulty going through our distance learning resources on pltw.org. So I just wanted to make sure that you all knew where to access these resources. So you'll go to pltw.org, you'll select this Learn More button. From there, it'll take you onto our distance learning resources page. You'll have your overview, but in this resources tab, really you have access to all of the online learning guides, any of our upcoming events, plus recordings of past webinars and educator forums, our how-to resources, which are both how-to videos as well as documents, more information about DSE office hours, equipment and supplies, and network created resources. And another tab that's really important other than our FAQs tab is this curriculum release schedule. I saw some chats come through about this. If you click on that link, it will take you to our curriculum release page. You can go and search by program, title, section, and it'll tell you unit, problem, release dates, and when you can expect those to come out. Back to you, Angela.
Thank you. Nick, were there any questions that came in for any of our partners that you wanted to address before we wrap it up here?
Yeah, quickly, a few of these were already addressed, but I do want to touch on a couple. Michelle Ward's pre-submitted question we had was about how much, or I'm sorry, given the unknowns of the 2020 school year, do the preserved abnormal hearts for PBS have a shelf life, and how should they be stored so that they last as long as possible?
Sure. The hearts are vacuum packed, so they should last up to a year from date of purchase. Just keep it away from, say, heat and light. If they can be stored at room temperature, a little on the cooler side is even better. Once they're open, they'll be good for about 3 weeks, but it's better to put them into a sealable plastic bag. If you could get any of the liquid that was in the vacuum bags, that little bit, maybe put in with it. And then again, keep it from heat and light, and it should last about for 3 weeks.
Thank you, Michelle. I'm going to hand it back to Shannon and Kirk. We're going to do a little update training demonstration here for you.
Right, thank you all. So we did show this earlier, and we just want to make sure that everyone could see it again, because there were a couple questions about where to find those training, the update training. It is in the teacher guide. So in my PLTW, in the new PBS teacher guide, there is that left-hand side on the column here that says 2020-21 update training resources. And that is where you will find all of the update training resources. So this is different than years past where you used to have to go separately. Everything you need for this new course, including the update training and all the teacher guides for the new PBS course, are right here in the teacher guide. So that's where you can go through and explore and see not only what's changed from the old curriculum to the new one, but any videos that are there, any guides to help you get through the new labs and activities and things from there. So it is, again, right within your teacher guide in my PLTW. Okay. And I think that's, we're gonna hand this back to Autumn to close us out.
Okay, well, thank you all for joining us. We hope this was beneficial for you. As a reminder, just like Shannon just showed, the embedded curriculum can be accessed within my PLTW, as well as all the additional resources can be accessed on pltw.org. So you have resources there. If you have any questions, please reach out to our Solution Center. The webinar has been recorded and it will be available next week on my PLTW, so you can go back and refer to it. We hope to see you on our next webinar on Wednesday, September 30th, to discuss how to support students with disabilities in distance learning. Thank you all and have a great night.